So a bunch of the Pokemon added to champions for this format have been heavily nerfed, including Metagross, Annihilate, and Goldengo. Three of the really important ones, but there are a few others. And in this video, I want to talk about why I think some of these nerfs were excessive and some of them are actually okay. I want to give credit where it's due. We're going to be talking about what these nerfs are and why I think maybe we should have pumped their brakes before we went into them. If you guys like these kind of videos, click like for your boy, subscribe if you are new. Let's go ahead and get started in talking about these nerfs. As I mentioned, I'm going to just do a quick overview of some of the nerfs that happened in this game to a number of different Pokemon. And no particular order, we're going to start with what you see on the screen. We're going to start with Scrafty. So Scrafty lost Parting Shot, right? Which was a very, very unfortunate loss, because right now the only fake out Parting Shot that we have is Incineroar. And I guess technically Grimmsnarl now that it's in the game. But no one really runs fake out on that thing, right? And it doesn't have Intimidate. This thing has Intimidate, fake out Parting Shot. And as a Pokemon that's like a different Pokemon to Incineroar, where it's Dark Fighting, where the other one is Dark Fire, it would have given a nice alternative that you don't have to run Incineroar all the time. Not to mention, like Incineroar, not Incineroar, Scrafty would have been like a really, really good Intimidator to use versus like Basket Legion. But without having Parting Shot, you kind of are better off just running the Incin with like a Resist Berry at that point, just running it really physically bulky, right? Losing Parting Shot, especially with the Mega Scrafty as well. Let me see where it's at. Mega Scrafty would have also gotten it. And Mega Scrafty, I think with Parting Shot, allowing you to flip in and out, and also have like a real attack and like a real attack stat versus like the Scrafty having like 115, 90, that's 115 the vet. So having a real attack stat, I think we'd see more Mega Scrafty than we do right now if they had not got rid of the move. That makes it a nice alternative to Incineroar. That's kind of the main thing I want to talk about Scrafty. Now let's get on to the really important ones. If you saw a cut, no you didn't. Your boy was getting a little dry, I had to get a beverage. Next up is Goldengo. Goldengo is the really, really major one. So this one doesn't really matter, right? It used to have Thunder Wave, now it doesn't, but no one really cares about Thunder Wave or Goldengo, right? No one likes Thunder Wave anyway. But I just wanted to include it because it was a nerf that happened. But it really is Make It Rain. So now look at the description of Make It Rain. You can see here that it says lowers the user special attack by 2. So let's start with that. I thought that Make It Rain's lowering you by 1 was fine. I know people were making the argument that like, oh, you know, it's more similar to Draco Meteor now. The problem with that is that like Draco Meteor doesn't get a power reduction, right? Because Make It Rain gets a power reduction by virtue of it being a spread move, whereas Draco hits things with their full power every time, right? So I think that the fact that it's a spread move, and debate whether or not spread moves or single target moves are better is like what it's a different video for a different day. But I think that the lowering by 1 was like kind of fine, right? But lowering it by 2 you can kind of work with because you still have Nasty Plot, right? So you can kind of get your boost up. But and I guess like you can make the argument that getting a +2 with Plot, clicking Make It Rain at +2 and then clicking it again at +1 might have been a little bit too strong, maybe. But like you look at Goldengo's like stats, right? No, what stat here that it has like really jumps off the screen at you? Like there are special attackers with way more special attack than this. Physical attackers with a high physical attack number than this thing has a special attack number. Its speeds here is not great. Its bulk is solid, right? It has 87, 95, 91. You can work with those numbers. The best thing about it really is the typing still goes to really, really good like offensive typing. So you kind of hit everything. Nothing really, really resists you, which is nice. But what made this Pokemon so crazy was terrestrialization, right? Because you could Terra into like a water type or something, and now you don't get hit by fire type moves, dark type moves, ghost type moves, etc. And all of a sudden now you can get multiple nasty plots. So now with Terra, if you get 2-3 nasty plots up, oh, I'm plus like 4, and I click Make It Rain, now I'm +3, and I click Make It Rain, now I'm +2. Now it feels out of hand, right? So I think they took into the account you can get a bunch of nasty plots up, which is why they made it -2, which I don't think was necessary until you saw how it played without Terra. But the real issue is that they made it less accurate, because now it's 95% accurate. And I think the stupidest way you can nerf Pokemon, and any Pokemon at all, is to lower the accuracy of the move. I think introducing more variance into the game is never a good thing, especially right now where the biggest complaint amongst the player base is RNG and variance. Because like this is the most RNG heavy format that we've played in a long time. So adding a Pokemon in and then telling that Pokemon, hey, guess what? You can also join in the RNG games, especially a beloved Pokemon like this, is kind of like infuriating a bit. It's channel mascot, right? So you guys can tell I care about this a lot. And like, and here's the thing, I'll even make the case, right, where it works in both ways, because there's obviously you don't want to miss Make It Rain, but let's say your opponent protects the target that you want to hit with Make It Rain, right? Because something people used to do in Scarlet and Violet is you have a fairy type on the board, you have like a fire type or like a steel type on the board or something, right? You would click protect on your fairy type, you'd click Make It Rain, and then what would happen is the Make It Rain would hit the partner and you'd take the special attack drop, right? But now there is a percentage chance, whereas you protect that one slot and we click Make It Rain and we miss the right slot, right? So now we don't get the special attack drop. So your protect, which is the right play to make to get the special attack drop, goes punished because we have variance introduced in the move now, right? So now I get to hit you again. So like in both ways, it's kind of stupid, and I don't think it's a change they should have made, and I hope it gets reverted. I have been playing with Goldango a bunch though, and it's really fun still, as long as you don't miss Make It Rain. The other major one, and there's one more major one, and we'll get to that. The other major one though is Annihilate. Annihilate has a couple of nerfs that I think one is good and one is kind of like wasn't really necessary in a sense. So Rage Fist got nerfed in a sense where it's like you get a reset on the switch out, right? Which I think should have always been the case. So this is actually a nerf that I think makes sense, right? Because I didn't think it was fair that you could stack up your Rage Fist and then switch out and then come back in and have max power Rage Fist still. That was kind of dumb. That was dumb in doubles and singles. Especially because all other stats have never worked that way, right? Maybe if you have other stats where you kept your boost in and out, then it would be okay, but like that's not how Pokemon works. If Goldango clicks Nasty Plot and switches out and it comes back in, it's not +2 anymore. The same should work for something like Rage Fist. That's just like basic mechanics of Pokemon. So I think the Rage Fist nerfs is okay. I think it's something like where it's like a max 6 hits, where it's like it didn't have a cap before, but I feel like it always had a max of like 350. So I don't know if that really matters, but once Rage Fist gets stacked up, it's gonna one-shot you regardless, right? So who cares if it's a max 6 hits? That doesn't mean anything to me. Final Gambit is the interesting one. I know a lot of people did not like Final Gambit Ape, but I didn't think it was that bad because it was something where it was like you making a trade, right? Now you do have the advantage because you're choosing what to trade essentially with the Final Gambit. So I understand there is more value in it, but like something giving you a little bit more value than the opponent doesn't feel like, to me, it warrants a nerf. So basically it lost Final Gambit, so it can't do it anymore. Like yes, its HP stat is super high, so like anything in the game right now pretty much would die to Final Gambit. But again, you are sacrificing a mon for it, so it's not like you're coming without cost, right? So you're sacrificing a mon to remove a mon of your opponent's to remove one of your opponent's mons that you choose to remove. So again, the advantage is of the players using Gambit. That is your advantage, but it's not without a heavy cost, right? Now it's a very good Pokemon to just be throwing away to nuke something. But I don't think it had to lose it at all for that reason. Rage Fist was a good nerf. Final Gambit feels like it was excessive, especially because Rage Fist Bulko was the #1 use set by like a billion percentage points, right? Final Gambit was not the #1 use set like at all, like ever. So I don't think it needed to lose something that wasn't its primary toolkit, right? If you look at like the rankings of moves that Annihilate has, it was always Rage Fist, Bulk Up, Drain Punch, Protect, right? It was always those 4, and the Final Gambit would be 5th, and like, or actually Final Gambit might be like 6th, and Close Combat would probably be there. Interchange those two, but you guys get the point, right? I think Final Gambit being removed was unnecessary, but it's not the end of the world. Rage Fist was a good nerf, though. I'll give them credit for that one. Pyroar was a smaller one. Just lost Earth Power, which I thought was kind of dumb, because why would you give it a Mega and then make it worse by getting rid of its ability to hit fire types? Like, and yes, I know that the Mega Pyroar has that cool ability, the Fire Main, where you get like a 50% boost or something like that on fire type moves. Like it's like Dragon's Maw, but for fire types. So that is a really good ability, and fire types you can like hit the resists, I guess. But like I think as long as you don't have coverage, just clicking only fire moves is really hard to have super duper success with, in my opinion. Now it is fast for this format, whereas like Sneasler is 120 and this is 126, faster than like everything that's not Aerodactyl, Delphox, Scarf Pokemon. Who else? Yeah. So yeah, those are the kind of the big ones, right? Delvox, Aerodactyl, and the Scarfmons. And you could argue Earth Power doesn't really help against any of those anyway. But like, I think being able to hit Incineroar really would help this Pokemon a lot in the Incineroar heavy format. I think being able to use Earth Power against like rain teams, for example, like our Chaladons, whereas they if you lose the Weather War, you want to have coverage, right? Now, granted, like I said, the Fire Main makes it so like rain doesn't really exist because the Fire Main boost will get rid of the rain, basically get rid of the rain nerf. So you're kind of just hitting at normal damage, but this thing's attacks that's not high. It's only 129. So I don't know. I think Earth Power being removed was kind of dumb, especially because it was the main theme of it in Wild Zone 17. It was Earth Powering you all over the place. So why'd they get rid of that? But that one's not as important. No one's using Pyro that heavily. This one's major. They gave Metagross Heavy Slam in Scarlet and Violet, and it was a solid choice on there, right? Like, it was good. It made Metagross like not totally trolling all the time. It wasn't still wasn't very heavily used even with Heavy Slam. And with Knockoff, it lost both these moves. It wasn't really using Knockoff that much, but it could, right? And Heavy Slam was a very strong move. It was often 120 base power, but Metagross was not really getting used that much. And then they got rid of it in this game. Now, obviously they got rid of it because it's like Mega Metagross is really strong and has Tough Claws, right? So Tough Claws with the Heavy Slam does a lot of damage. But I think because the game is like a real-time game that we're gonna be playing formats every few months and it's gonna be the game we're staying on, I think it would have been okay to let it keep Heavy Slam for Reg MB and then seeing if it became oppressive and then get rid of it. But the problem with Metagross is that like even back in the day, the reason people like stopped using it after a little bit is because like Iron Head is cool, but like it's not that high base power, and Meteor Mash is a little bit stronger, but it's inaccurate, right? Like no one wants to click Meteor Mash, and Iron Head is like solid damage, but it's not doing damage like Charizard in Sun, right? Like 135. Actually, we go to Mega Metagross. So yeah, like 145. 145 attack stat is really nice, right? But it's not like Charizard's special attack, which is like what, 159 or something like that. And getting boosted by Sun, right? And Tough Claws is 1.3 and Sun is 1.5. So like, I don't like Iron Head is still not like that strong in the grand scheme of Mega Evolutions. So I don't think it was like necessary to get rid of its best move in that way. At least it kept Psychic Fangs, thank goodness, because it could never run Psychic moves before because Zen Headbutt is garbage. But I do think it should have kept Heavy Slam at least for now. And then once we see how the things settle, then you make the decision. I agree. I feel the same way about Annihilate actually and Goldango. I do think Rage Fish should have been nerfed. I think Rage Fish, to me, that's not even like a nerf. That's how it should have been from day one, in my opinion. So I'm not really concerned with Rage Fish, but I think that like at least see how Goldango Annihilate Metagross would have felt without Terralization and with Heavy Fangs. I mean, with Heavy Slam, which it didn't have before. At least give them a chance, right, to see how they perform. Griffin actually did get a big nerf. It got no more Thunder Wave. So I am okay with this kind of, because like here's the thing, it gets Scary Face, right? So Scary Face means you can still slow things down, right? And I always believe Thunder Wave should be more of a speed control option anyway. I always thought that Thunder Wave should be completely accurate, lower speed, and no para chance, right? That's how I always felt about it. And it still has Scary Face, so it can still do that. And the difference between Thunder Wave and Scary Face is that Thunder Wave, you can, if you switch out and come back in, you still will be Thunder Waved, so it's a bit stronger than Scary Face in that instance. But you can still do the Scary Face things if you need to. Now, Thunder Wave being gone is fine by me. I will say it's not a necessary nerf because they lowered the para chance, but it's not zero, right? So I guess until they remove paralysis overall, I'm okay with this Pokemon losing Thunder Wave. And the least important one of them all, this thing lost Mortal Spin. I just wanted to include it because I didn't want to like leave it off. No one was clicking Mortal Spin in this guy, and no one's really going to be using this. And if they do use it, it's going to be like not Mortal Spin. Before I just wrap this up though, I guess I will talk a little bit about a couple of buffs. So Swampert got Wave Crash, so that makes it a real Pokemon. Whereas before it had like Liquidation and Waterfall, which were good moves, but Wave Crash makes it a super real Pokemon. This thing actually can hit things for a lot of damage and one shot a lot of them. And then what's this other one? There we go, Sceptile. I'm like, why am I drawing a blank? I got Earth Power, so now it can hit stuff that it normally couldn't hit. So like, oh, that's not Earth, that's Darth. So now I get earth power. So you can like hit fire types, hit rock types. Oh, you always hit rock types, but you can hit fire types and you can hit steel types, right? Whereas grass doesn't hit steel or fire, dragon doesn't hit steel. So yeah, that's a good buff for this Pokemon. But anyway, that's all I really wanted to talk about. I think some of the nerfs went a little bit too far, like Gambit, Final Gambit here, and definitely Make It Rain. And I think Party Shot being removed from Scrafty was a mistake. You don't need to do that. Earth Power would have been fine on Mega Pyro, in my opinion. And in Heavy Slam, I think we should have at least gotten the opportunity to see how good it would have been. But anyway, thank you guys for being here. If you like these kind of videos, you know, click like for your boy. Let me know in the comments below what other Pokemon you might want me to talk about, what things about the format you want me to talk about. Otherwise, subscribe if you're new, become a member if you're so inclined. I will let you send me teams and I will remix those teams to make them a little bit more viable for you. And that will be something I do for members. I have the email in my description of my channel that you can email if you are a member to get that service. Also get a cool Dingo Badge brand name. Anyway, once again, thank you guys for being here. Click like for your boy, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next video. Peace.